back block, and that's
the guy that rolls his body around.
Mike Drop Sports. Steel City Live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back here on a Monday. I just want to generally talk today about that 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers team. What are you going to expect? You've heard the rumblings. Everybody's got a problem with the coaches. Everybody's got a problem with the players. They don't think Omar Khan's done enough in that general manager position. There are a lot of negative things, but there are a lot of positive things too. You look at the wide receiver room and you say to yourself, you'd like Omar Khan to add another player there, and I'm pretty much sure he will. I'm not going to go out there and exactly report and say yes that'll happen, but I'm going to say I'm 95% sure that there is a wide receiver added to this room. I don't know that name. I think the Steelers are definitely involved in some talks with many wide receivers, just not one or two. I think they are calling around trying to figure this thing out. And Omar Khan is trying to get this done. So I'm going to really say to you as a fan that you should just be pretty optimistic that this will get done and the Pittsburgh Steelers will add somebody in that wide receiver room. But why shouldn't you worry about that wide receiver room? We'll just start there here on a Monday early. Calvin Austin III, injured his first year, his rookie season, a guy that just wasn't able to produce, comes back out that second season and really takes a nice step. A guy that's productive, a guy that can score, a guy that can blow the top off of a defense. And you look at how Arthur Smith wants to use him, hopefully in a way that, gives him those splash plays. And I think that is the idea with Calvin Austin. And here in year 3, I expect nothing less from Calvin Austin than to take another jump. Respectable young man, works hard, understands the playbook. You can get on board with a guy like Calvin Austin. I know he's undersized in the blocking game, the run game. You probably have some concerns there, but he's going to go out there and get in the way. Guys, you don't need a wide receiver to go out there and pancake somebody. That's not what you're needing. That's not what you need from a wide receiver. You need them to get in the way. And Calvin Austin can get in the way and open up those lanes, that second, third level type lane for a running back. Especially when you have running backs like a Jalen Warren that got some speed that can hammer through there and really break one off, hit a home run from anywhere. And that's just really all you're looking for. Even in that first level, right on the edge, if Calvin Austin just gets in somebody's way, the plays happen so fast. These guys are so fast. That running back's through that area. That running back is able to get through. So you're not worried about Calvin Austin in that aspect. He's going to go out there. He's going to risk it. He's going to get in front of people. He's not going to just go there and lay down and miss and whiff on blocks. Calvin Austin's going to work hard. So we like Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin's a guy that we could get on board with. A guy that you're not worried about in my eyes. I think he can definitely be wide receiver 3, 4, but he's a guy, and I'm not into the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the wide receiver depth chart. I'm just into putting guys into situations that they can succeed. Calvin Austin can play the outside. He can play the inside, but you just mix things up for guys like him. I think Roman Wilson has worked hard this offseason so far, and I think you'll continue to see that. And I think the coaching staff and the franchise as a whole has a little bit more faith and hope in Roman Wilson this season, that his understanding of the playbook, hopefully his injuries will curb a little bit here now that he's had a year and a half to really get adjusted to this NFL game. So hopefully that you'll see a jump from Roman Wilson here in year 2. So you're not totally concerned, but those guys kind of look similar. But then you went out there and you added DK Metcalf, a guy that's a true number 1 proven guy that can produce. And that speaks for itself. Then you say to yourself, well, they traded off George Pickens. Well, I still think they'll be okay when you have tight ends like a Pat Freiermuth, like a Darnell Washington. That can kind of fill a little bit of that role, especially in that offensive scheme of Arthur Smith that's going to use tight ends anyway. So you're not overly concerned. You're not going to freak out here. Why? Because DK Metcalf isn't George Pickens. He isn't going to take plays off. He isn't going to just go out there and be all about him. Yeah, wide receivers are divas. DK no different. But DK understands at the stage of his career that he's in right now, he is in the prime and he has to strike while the iron's hot. And he's going to go out there and he's going to be looking for Lombardi trophies. So I expect nothing but great things from DK Metcalf inside of a Pittsburgh Steelers helmet. I'm not overly concerned. Again, I really feel like that wide receiver room will have some additions. I still feel like there's some undrafted rookie free agents named Rock Taylor, maybe that could pop up and surprise everybody. So I think there's options there, my friends. You added Robert Woods, a guy that can definitely go out there and get 30 catches this season, a guy that can play well in the run game, a guy that can do it all, a guy that's going to understand the schemes and the concepts and the playbook. So there is no big giant worries there. I think the Steelers will be okay. Would additions make sense? Yes. Would they help? Yes. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think you're okay there. You're not in desperation mode. And that means to me that you don't go out there and overpay in a trade. You don't have to do those things. You can continue to stand pat, continue to keep that draft capital and your resources to make trades for the 2026 season or later on here in the 2025 campaign. You can do those things. So the Steelers aren't in desperation mode. Then you look at this offense as a whole. You say to yourself, what? The offensive line doesn't work. This thing doesn't work. Well, I got to tell you, I got really high hopes there. I think depth may be a concern. I think that might be a little bit of an issue, but I expect guys like Spencer Anderson and company, guys like that, to be able to fill in if need be. And I also expect guys like Mason McCormick to take a leap. I expect Broderick Jones to have a real big rebound year with the work he's putting in this offseason. I expect another big jump from Zach Frazier, a guy that was tremendous in his rookie season. Then you look at Troy Fautanu. Barring any type of injury, I think this guy could be absolutely fantastic. But that's what you're doing here with every player in the NFL. You're rolling the dice. It's a violent game. You're going to have injuries. It's football, my friends. So you're just rolling the dice. So you need a little bit of luck to work on your side at points of the season. So I expect big things from them because there is a ton of players across that offensive front that are young, that are high value draft picks, that have a ton of potential. And hopefully that potential will be realized. We've seen it from Broderick Jones. He can get it done. It's just he had a very rocky campaign in 2024. And that happens. And that happens to the best of them in the NFL. And again, I expect Broderick Jones to rebound tremendously and kind of wash away all this noise about Broderick Jones being a bust. And we're a little bit too early there because we saw a good year. We saw a bad year. Now I expect him to rebound and I expect him to hopefully be healthy. And that's the big thing along the offensive front, guys. You look at Isaac Seumalo, a veteran. His health is going to be of concern. You want these guys to stay healthy because they are going up against big, strong, fast guys. In health and just a little bit of luck there definitely helps. And preparations in the off season, getting out there, working your ass off, getting in there, getting your body right, making sure your health is your number one concern as an NFL football player. And I think they have done that this season. You're seeing a lot of pictures come out of there. You're seeing guys in there every single day, guys that could be out doing their thing. But instead, they are in that building working hard, gaining that camaraderie. And that is another thing along that offensive front that has to be done. That cohesive unit. They have to gel. They have to become that cohesive unit. And this is year two with virtually the same real core. With the exception of Troy Fautanu, a guy that was injured in his rookie season, but I think he'll fit in nicely. And I think the starter games, reps, minutes, whatever you want to break it down into for Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick were absolutely invaluable. And I think having a really, really rough year for Broderick Jones was a great learning tool and I think a great motivator for him. So you look at this and you say to yourself, damn, okay, now we're starting to get the makings of a really solid ball club. The offensive line, there's some tremendous potential there. We really like that wide receiver room, regardless of what the national media wants to jam down your throat, because we like the tight ends. We like the way Arthur Smith may be able to use them to overcome maybe the lack of a true number two wide receiver. But the Steelers are looking. So you're happy in those categories. Then you look at the backfield, a returning running back in Jalen Warren, a guy that we know can hit a home run from anywhere on the football field. And I got to tell you this, guys, I coached in a youth camp this weekend with Jalen Warren, and I got to tell you, that guy looks healthy. He looks fast. And when you see him live and in person right on a football field in front of you, you're like, holy shit, that guy can fly. He has some speed. He has some quickness. His lateral movements are nice. And I got to tell you this, I think that he's done excellent body work this season or this off season. He looks in tremendous shape. He looks to be really primed for what quite possibly might be a breakout year, and especially with the addition of a young rookie in Caleb Johnson, they may be a tremendous 1-2 punch for your Pittsburgh Steelers. So I like the way that backfield's looking. I like Kenneth Gainwell. I think he could be a ball player. I think he can contribute. And yeah, we have Cordell Patterson, but guys, I'm not even really including him. I know he will be a post-June 1 casualty. That's just the way that is. And they will continue to bring in guys like Trey Sermon to fill this room out. And I think you'll see a really young, fresh running back room for the 2025 season that might really be able to do some big things behind a young, fresh offensive line. So, man, we like that. We like that. Now we get down to the big one, and that's quarterback. And we know we have three players. We have Skylar Thompson, a guy that's probably going to either be a practice squad guy or a number 3 emergency at best. We know that. Then you look at rookie Will Howard, a guy that has been totally tossed to the trash heap. He's no good. He's a 6th-round pick, but what did he do? He just simply won. He went out there, won the national championship game, went out there, became the MVP of the national championship game, only got better as time went on throughout that season, only got better in the biggest moments. I think Will Howard might be a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers knew exactly what they were doing when they hyped up Shedeur Sanders. I think they wanted everybody to kind of lean that way in those mid to late rounds because they knew they wanted their guy, and they knew that was Will Howard, a guy that's ultra intelligent, a guy that loves to be in the city of Pittsburgh and has said it over and over and over again, a guy that is ready to work, a guy that has been there since the day he was drafted, ready to work in the building, ready to go. So I think Will Howard, there's a ton of potential there, guys. And I know we don't bank on potential, but man, it's got to get you excited as a fan base because the Steelers can find themselves in an excellent situation here. Maybe they do have something in Will Howard, and all of a sudden you have a tremendous amount of draft capital heading into 2026 that can be spent to really upgrade this roster and surround a guy like Will Howard with top shelf talent. And maybe all of a sudden you have dangerous weapons all over the place because you have high value draft capital invested in some of these areas to where the Steelers could be absolutely scary. You just don't know. Then you look at a guy like Mason Rudolph, a guy that's a veteran in this league, a guy that has done it in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform before in the biggest moments, getting this football team into the playoffs, and in my eyes, played okay for considering the circumstances in the playoffs. He wasn't horrible. Yes, he had the interception, but I felt like he kept that team in the game as best he could. He handled the situation. The moment wasn't too big for him. And I still think that you can gain big, big things from Mason Rudolph, and he could potentially do something special for your Steelers. There is potential there also, and a little bit of production to lean on. Not a tremendous amount, but a little bit. So this offense as a whole, regardless if you go out there and add another quarterback, regardless if you go out there and add another wide receiver, this offense isn't as bad as you want to make it. And I gotta emphasize that to everybody because I know we're a little bit too wrapped up in just a couple positions. I know we're ultra focused on some things, but sometimes you got to look at it from the whole. And I got to tell you, I'm not as down on this offense as some may be. And I think I'll be proven highly accurate and highly right whenever this 2025 campaign kicks off and you have Mason Rudolph and Will Howard as your 1 and 2. Maybe they do get a veteran guy and bring him in, but we're not talking about that because it doesn't exist. It's not even reality right now for your Pittsburgh Steelers, so it does not matter. But anyway, moving on. We're all right in the offensive position, if you ask me. I think another year of Arthur Smith. I think this whole thing starts to get a little bit better. I think now you get some quarterbacks that were afraid to throw across the middle up out of the building. Now you maybe can utilize the middle of the field. Maybe get Pat Fryermuth more involved. Maybe get Darnell Washington more involved. Maybe be able to have that run game work a little bit better because you're able to utilize the tight ends in the pass game and not be one dimensional on first and second down when you're trying to run the football like Mike Tomlin likes to do. So we're okay there. And then you move over. Special teams, we'll go there next. Chris Boswell, steady Eddie, baby. A guy that is going to be there. You know he's going to be there. Even if he goes through rough patches, he's going to be able to figure his way out of those rough patches, and he will be there in the big moments. We trust in that. We know that. Chris Boswell, a guy that isn't going nowhere, a guy that is a steady force in the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room, a guy that has won games for the Steelers over and over and over, and we have extreme confidence in him. Danny Smith, we know he'll get that special teams group rolling. They will make some splash plays. They will do some special things, just like they're called special teams. They will do some game-changing special things under Danny Smith, led by Chris Boswell. And again, I think this whole special teams group, regardless of everything, maybe Corliss Waitman's back. I can't remember if he's signed to the Steelers or not, or just still in the building. I don't know. But maybe they get somebody like him if Cam Johnston isn't ready. But Cam Johnston, I believe, will be back and ready to go. And I think he'll be back to doing his big thing. So I think we're okay there. Then you look at that defensive side of the football, and all they did was add special talent in places that are going to make a big difference. I think Derek Harmon's going to be an exceptional young rookie. Ton of potential there. We have to get to production. But you still have Cam Hayward. You still have Keanu Benton. And then you go out there and you add a guy like Y.A. Black, a guy that I think is going to be a major contributor, and I think is going to be one of the bigger steals out of this draft, getting him so late. I really, truly believe that defensive front, if health stays on their side, and that's the question mark through all this, guys. Health, health, health. Are these guys going to get injured or not? That's the biggest thing. And that's what I said. You need a little bit of luck. But barring any type of injuries, barring any type of health concerns, this defensive front got extremely better. Then you did add some players into the back end. You added guys in the cornerback position. You added Eccles. You added Darius Slay, a guy that can play on the outside. And then you added Eccles, a guy that can play on the inside out. Maybe Beanie Bishop takes a step. Maybe Joey Porter Jr. gets a little bit better here. Ton of potential in that secondary. Maybe Minka is allowed now to play a little bit more of a Minka type role, getting down in the box, playing down there in exotic looks. Maybe TJ Watt now moves around, giving this defense a little bit more in the term of exotic looks. Maybe they bring a little bit more of that zone blitz scheme back to the city of Pittsburgh. Maybe Mike Tomlin loosens the reins on Terrell Austin and allows him to play that more aggressive brand of football. And we know the last time Darius Slay was an All-Pro was under Terrell Austin. Maybe that's the same outcome here in the Steel City. So a ton of potential there also, guys, to be excited about. And I think this defense got significantly better. And when you are able to be better along that defensive front, that loosens things up on the back end and creates some more different things that the Steelers can do on the back end. It allows those players to be able to be moved around more as chess pieces. It allows them to start confusing that quarterback of the opposing team. So I really, really feel like the Steelers have had a tremendous offseason. Whether we want to admit that or not, whether we want to listen to the national media people or not, I think if you look at this football team as a whole, I think you don't need to panic. I think this team has improved, and I think it will continue to improve throughout this summer, throughout training camp, and as we get rolling into 2025. I think you're going to start to see a Steelers team that you are very happy with, and that is set up tremendously to just fill maybe a piece or two here or there to become ultra competitive and highly competitive. And I think that's the big thing that you're looking for from this Pittsburgh Steelers team here, as they have had a silent rebuild. Yes, they haven't tore it completely down and just blew it up and restarted. No, they didn't do that, but they have done a fine job of restoring this roster back to a real steady look, a real competitive roster here for 2025. Now you turn your attention here a little bit to the X factor in all this. And it's a factor in which has to be looked at, and that's the head coach. That's the coaching staff, not just Mike Tomlin. That's the coaching staff. Will Mike Tomlin not micromanage? Will he allow his coordinators to play a little bit more loose and fast and free out there and utilize their talent and play to the strengths of their talent instead of going by this hard-nosed, gotta be no room for change Mike Tomlin? He can't be like that. And we'll see if after 18 years, he is able to make some changes in terms of loosening up a little bit, allowing today's NFL game to seep into that locker room. That is going to be probably the biggest X factor for this roster, is Mike Tomlin's willingness to change. Is he going to allow Terrell Austin to play that more aggressive brand of football that he wants to play? That's a big thing, my friends. So is he going to allow Arthur Smith to do more of the things that he wanted to do coming here? Those are all big questions, and I think you're going to get some answers soon. I think you're going to start to see tremendous team development during the mini camps, during all these little camps that they have leading up to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and I think you're going to start to be pleasantly surprised. So this real video here is a call to action for Steelers fans to not hit the panic button, to realize what you got and to look at the big picture, and to be a little bit more optimistic on what you have here in the city of Pittsburgh, and realize you're a lot closer to being competitive inside of the playoffs than you are far apart. It's reality, and you need to look at it that way in my eyes. I still believe this to be a 10, 11 win football team. Maybe that gets you into the wild card round. Maybe it wins you a division. I don't know. It'll depend on how much the AFC North beats each other up. But regardless of any other additions outside of what they currently have on this roster, this is a 10, 11 win football team in my eyes. And I think you're going to, again, see that and definitely be pleasantly surprised. All right, guys, don't forget to join us tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Steel City Live. That's only here on Mike Drop Sports. But until next time, man, I'm Jason. See you guys.
Power takes an approach as a coach. Let's go.
It's a field back block, and that's
The guy that rolls his body around.
Mike Drop Sports. Steel City Live.